you guys, welcome back. This is Nina. Like, share, and subscribe. So, today, you guys, I'm going to get into a very hot topic with you guys that concerned an incident that a lot of people are comparing to be a racial incident that happened in Bend, Oregon, several days ago. And I definitely want to report on this story and share my brief opinion about what happened. So, in a nutshell, this is what started it. The gentleman pictured here, Ian Cranston, was at a bar with his girlfriend, and she was approached by a young black gentleman named Barry Washington. Now, the reports. Now, these are just the initial reports. I've been trying to do research on this just to make sure I'm as clear as possible with my own facts. Barry Washington approached his girlfriend and complimented her. I guess maybe he was trying to hit on her, etc., etc. She turned down his advances, and then instead of Barry Washington, pictured now, gracefully just walking away because she was also there with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend and Barry got into an argument, which then turned into a huge fight. And it is said that Barry initiated the actual fight as far as throwing the first punch, where he proceeded to not only hit Ian, but he also hit the girl that he was hitting on, to compliment her. So this actually ended up escalating very quickly into when Ian pulled out a weapon and proceeded to take Barry's life. Now, that is the gist of what is being reported now. There is a video that actually goes toward the end of the situation when Barry was taken out. However, I thought it was just too grainy and, all over the place. It didn't show as much, and it did not seem like the crowd was even reacting to the fact that the young man was laying on the ground at that point. It just seemed like everybody was still partying. So you can Google it if you want. I'm not going to post it. And this is a report from CNN on your screen now. It says an Oregon man has been arrested and indicted on charges stemming from the fatal shooting of a man prosecutors say occurred after the victim spoke to the suspect's girlfriend. A grand jury this week indicted Ian Mackenzie Cranston, 27 years old, whom is Caucasian, on 6 charges in connection to the incident involving 22-year-old Barry Washington Jr., whom is black. Deschutes County District Attorney John Hummel announced in a news conference Thursday following Cranston's arrest. The charges include the second degree, first degree, second degree, first degree, and 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon. Cranston appeared in court Friday and is being held in a Deschutes County jail without bond. He has not entered a plea as of yet. I also have the prosecutor's his conference, which we'll play in a moment.
Deschutes County District Attorney John Hummel. This afternoon, my office presented the case of the killing of Barry Washington to the Deschutes County Grand Jury. This case was presented by 2 of my top deputy district attorneys, Van McKeever and Brooks McLean. Van is a former Navy fighter pilot and mission commander. Brooks is a former corporal in the Marine Corps. A few minutes before I walked down here, I walked from my office in the courthouse. A few minutes before I walked down here, I was on the phone with Barry's mother, LaWanda Robinson. I informed LaWanda of the decision made by the grand jury. I expressed my condolences to her and her family as they continue to grieve the loss of Barry. Based on what I told her, she thanked God. That's what she said to me. Thank God. The grand jury returned an indictment charging Mr. Washington with the following 6 crimes: assault in the first degree, Two count.
Mr. Cranston.
Oh, you're sorry. I had Barry on my mind. Yeah, thank you for that, of course. Thank you. Talk to Barry's mother, and she's going to be on, he'll be on your mind. Grand jury returned an indictment charging Mr. Cranston with the following 6 crimes. Assault in the first degree, 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon, manslaughter in the second degree, manslaughter in the first degree, and murder in the second degree.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Immediately after the grand jury returned this indictment, my office requested that the Deschutes County Circuit Court issue a warrant for the arrest of
Yes.
Mr. Cranston.
Thank you.
Our request was granted. After the arrest warrant was signed, and pursuant to tactical plans previously arranged with the Bend Police Department, their officers arrested Mr. Cranston at his house. He is now lodged in the Deschutes County Jail on a no bail warrant. Bend Police Department Deputy Chief Chief Paul Kransky is here today. He and his officers worked with my officers to have eyes on Mr. Cranston for the last few days, waiting for this warrant. We weren't going to let him get out of our sights. And Deputy Chief, thank you for keeping eyes on him this entire
Thank you,
time.
Kransky.
I'm standing in downtown Bend, across the street from where Barry was murdered. It is no news to anyone here that Barry was black and Mr. Cranston is white. It is believed that the initial interaction between Barry and Mr. Cranston began when Barry complimented Mr. Cranston's girlfriend. Our country has a disgraceful history of denigrating, prosecuting, and lynching black men for talking to white women. Over the last week, literally hundreds of people called and emailed me to remind me of this history. I responded to every one of you. In many of these calls and emails, you referenced Emmett Till, the 14-year-old boy who was kidnapped, beaten, mutilated, shot in the head, and dumped in a river, all for allegedly whistling at a white woman. If that was not bad enough, his killers were found not guilty at trial. I went to college in Virginia in the 80s and to law school in Arkansas in the 90s. Racism was alive and well in the South back then, but racism didn't only happen back then and down there. It happens right here and right now. I started my legal career in 1995 as a public defender representing farm workers from Mexico who lived and worked in Prineville and Madras. My farm worker clients were the hardest working people I ever met, yet our community treated them as if they were lazy, drunk, and stupid. And what happened in the 90s in Prineville and Madras is happening still today in Deschutes County. For example, last year, we had a Deschutes County commissioner who insulted people of Asian descent by referring to COVID-19 as the China virus. Many of you who called and emailed me these last 2 weeks are black. You described how uncomfortable you feel walking the streets in Bend. Most chilling to me was your description of how the killing of Barry Washington impacted your children. Thank you for taking the difficult step of reliving your pain to tell me what I needed to hear. Those are difficult conversations. I know they were not easy for you, but I needed to hear it, and you did it, and I thank you. Now, at the same time, there's a reckoning with race that needs to happen in Central Oregon, and it needs to happen now. Okay? Now, as that having been said, as much as it's my job to protect and advance the rights of Barry and his family, I have the duty to protect the rights of the accused. Ian Cranston is innocent of the crimes he's charged with unless and until my office can prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. We embrace that presumption. By ensuring Mr. Cranston's rights are protected, when we obtain a conviction which I'm confident we will, the conviction will hold up during the appeals process, thereby sparing Barry's family the pain of a second trial.
Okay, you guys just saw that news conference. Now, I'm just going to share a brief opinion. First of all, the young man himself should have literally just backed away from the situation. I do not like the fact that this race thing is being put into this particular situation as much, for the simple fact, if you can imagine being out with your boyfriend and or girlfriend and someone is literally in your face, if this is what actually happened, and was harassing and terrorizing them about her not wanting, I don't know, to take his phone number or leave the bar with him. I really do feel like it was out of his way to do that. And he threw the first punch, if this is what happened. I hate that race is being put into this. I just wanted you guys to have a breakdown. I'm going to do more on this at a different time. I just want to get more information. Like, share, subscribe, and share your opinion respectfully.